Just kidding. Today, we're going to be going over some of the changes coming on the day of our collective salvation, March 5th. I'll be giving you guys my thoughts and opinions on some of the highlights or big changes we've seen thus far. The first change, and probably the biggest and most controversial of them all, is the Crucible Sandbox Changes, which effectively is going to be giving us a diluted version of Checkmate as the new main mode for Crucible, which means we'll be getting it in Control, Iron Banner, Comp, and Trials, effectively. Bungie says their intention of what they're trying to accomplish, or their goal, is to help players understand the sequence of events that led to their deaths so they can more easily learn how to improve. And then they want to alter the weapon sandbox to account for the increased average skill of their player base, reducing the amount of high reward, low risk options, and encourage primary weapon mastery to be an aspirational pursuit of the players. And I gotta say, with those goals in mind, I think that they're going to hit that on the dime with these changes. And my personal selfish reason for enjoying these is inevitably going to increase the skill gap, which I see as a positive. And I think it's something we've been asking for as a community for quite a while now. And, you know, I feel they're keeping on their promise and bringing the challenge back in Destiny in that regard. So I think some of the biggest complaints I see for the changes coming in Checkmate is that we're going back to year one, which we totally aren't if you actually read what we're getting. Optimal TTKs aren't changing, so that's number one. Number two, player movement is not nearly as slow as it was in year one. And the special ammo system is not the way it was in year one. We're not having shotguns as heavy weapons or fusion rifles or snipers. You know, we have special weapons. It's not getting removed from the mode like I have people say to me it is. It's in the mode. You're going to spawn with 2 kills worth of special ammo, and then you'll be able to earn it with kills, assists, and deaths and stuff like that. And the thing that I think you could maybe say is the closest to year one is maybe the ability changes, but I don't even think that is here. It's a happy medium in my opinion, especially where we've left off with the 15% cooldowns for abilities and 20% for super. I personally enjoyed the first version of Checkmate where it was you didn't spawn with special ammo and all that, but I think they've made a happy compromise to kind of give higher skill players what they want, and then also kind of give people that are lower skill what they want as well. And when it comes to the sandbox changes, I can say that I personally feel listened to, and I'm confident that they have a good understanding of where the game should be going PvP wise, which is a huge relief, because I'd be lying if I said at times that I didn't question or didn't agree with some of the decisions that were made, especially in the past couple years with AE changes or some of the problems with subclass 3.0 in Witch Queen and Lightfall and stuff like that. So I think ultimately, from what I've seen to be the vocal minority complaining about the changes, will come around and understand that it's what's best for PvP, as I've already happened to see for several people that I've talked to personally, because there's people on Twitter that disagree with me, and I talk to them and they're cordial and we just kind of agree to disagree, but they've kind of been coming around, you know, they kind of understand, and it's kind of cool to see, especially because I feel like this is a change that should be a big win for them, but for some reason there's a lot of people in the community that are I like one-shotting people all the time. And honestly, the truth is that the changes we are getting, for the most part, address a lot of the things you've been complaining about for years. It brings down the ease of use on primary weapons while still maintaining them as a strong, competent weapon. Special weapons and abilities are still extremely powerful, but you're just not able to have constant access to them. So in turn, that increases the skill gap of those very powerful abilities and weapons, because you're now going to have to think about how you're going to use those weapons and abilities, because you're most likely not going to have access to them for a good portion of your playtime. So my last positive of the changes that I'll touch on is I think Checkmate allows the sandbox to breathe a little bit more than it would be able to otherwise, right? Literally, I feel like I can play Hunter, right? And I've been a Hunter main for years and years and years, and up until I don't know, season of the Plunder, when Arc 3.0 came out, I think I pretty much started playing Titan exclusively because Arc Titan was so overpowered, and we've kind of experienced the sandbox and what's overpowered in the sandbox getting to such a degree where it is so strong that you can't even use other things. So I think, you know, these changes are going to let the sandbox breathe a little bit more. You'll be able to play Hunter, you'll be able to be competitive, you'll be able to play Titan or Warlock, you can play anything really, for the most part, in terms of classes. Whereas, like, in terms of weapons, the meta is still kind of similar, but I'm more excited about the ability to see potentially more variety in classes. I think that will be a lot more fun and a lot more engaging to play, rather than playing 3 Titans or playing as 3 Titans all the time, you know? And it feels like we're approaching a certain level of balance that we've been longing for as a community. So I'm really excited for that. Anyway, let's move on to something a little bit lighter, the Trials of Osiris. So to quickly summarize the changes we'll be getting, we're getting a new card called a Passage of Persistence, which will effectively give you a guaranteed adept weapon. And then we're going to be getting changes to the Passage of Ferocity. So I believe if you've not been flawless for the week, losses after 3 wins will reset you back to 3 wins instead of flawing you. So it's still going to give you that extra win on your 3rd game. It's just you will have a mercy, basically, until you go flawless, which I think is pretty cool and could be potentially a better option for going flawless for newer players than mercy. Who knows? We'll see. I'm definitely interested to try it out. I might potentially tell people that I'm carrying to swap over that card instead of a mercy. We're also getting some changes to the Trios playlist. Trios will be getting an additional 50% chance to drop Trials engrams and a 50% chance to drop non-adept Trials loot based on the weapon for the week, I believe. And also additional rep. I don't know how much rep. I think how much rep that is could be very important, actually, because I notice a lot of players play when we get like double loot, we get increased rep, so things like that will have even more value in trios, and that's pretty cool to see. So, and also they'll be keeping duos as a way to matchmake in trials. Some really good things to take away from the card of persistence, in my opinion, is that I consider it to be going in the right direction in terms of rewarding the players for their time, which has been a big pain point, I would say, for PvP players. Although I do think it kind of conflicts with the identity of what Trials was or is, in my opinion. But I do acknowledge that it's probably what's best for the playlist, and I'm really interested to see how positively it impacts it, because I think this something that could only be a positive. I'll also say that I'm kind of disappointed by the duo playlist not being removed, although I understand why they didn't end up doing so. And the reasons they give are pretty good. It's just one of those things where, like, wish trios would be good. Like, personally, I wish it would, because that's where I spend a majority of my time. But at the same time, it's one of those things like duos not being a thing doesn't guarantee that people are going to go to trios. I mean, it guarantees that they'll either go to solos or trios, or they'll just stop playing because you're a move away for them to play. So I think them increasing the loot for trios is a really good way to get casual players in more, because casual players, I think things that are important to them is getting loot. Like, they don't care so much about doing well, because the majority of the time their well is not the same as like a top 1% player well, you know, and they're more concerned about getting loot. So giving them increased rep, giving them chances for props is good, and I think they just need to keep going in that direction and maybe give them trios, and that will like heavily incentivize people to do that, which is honestly something that I hadn't thought of. Like, I hadn't thought of that, and they do have a point, whereas like eventually over time the boost for removing duos would probably just end up right where we're at right now, again left with like no duos as well. So, and I think one issue that isn't too highly spoken about, because I think for developers, like, they don't want to admit, it's kind of like an uncomfortable thing to talk about, right? It's like cheaters. Like, they don't want to talk about cheaters. It's kind of something they want to, not to say that they haven't talked about cheaters and they haven't done things to combat cheaters. They have, and they do. But for me, from my perspective, I feel like one of the things that really hurts player retention in the trios is cheating. And, you know, I would love to have seen some stuff about that. We're also going to be getting some Artifice armor in comp, which is pretty cool. Ultimately, though, I'd say these changes were a pretty big W for the game. And as I said previously in the video, I think the game is going to be a lot better. I'm excited to get into changes and just play the game, honestly. Like, even just playing normal control for me right now, currently, it's like so unenjoyable. But I feel like I'm going to enjoy Control. Like, I'm just going to enjoy playing the game again and being Sandbox, and that's something I haven't felt long. And also, really quick to touch again on them not talking about cheaters. I think part of that is probably because they don't have anything to talk about at the moment. You know, like I said, that's definitely for me my #1 pain game right now as the top 1% player group in which we're most heavily affected by them. And if they did have something to say, or there was developments, I'm sure those aren't shared for security reasons, but I definitely would like to see some stuff about that going into final shape. Sure, I would like an update to the anti-cheat, something to like kind of stave them off for a little bit, maybe, majority of them at least, because when we got the anti-cheat that we have now, it felt like, to me, that I wasn't matching a bunch. Literally over the course of like a couple of seasons, I matched like 5. It's like, I matched that in like half a day now, you know? Like I matched like 5 in half a day. A day, it's like, could be 10, could be 20, 30, who knows? It just depends on how much they want to snipe me. With that though, we'll wrap this video up here. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. I'd also ask that we keep your thoughts respectful in the comments below as well. Mind you, I might have not done myself any favors with the thumbnail and the title of the video in terms of keeping things respectful, but please try to converse respectfully. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you happen to like what you see, then please make sure to sub and click the bell for notifications on when new videos drop. If you're looking to get some live action Diffizzle gameplay, head on over to my Twitch, which I stream on pretty much daily. Also, if you want to say hi, I have a Twitter, and you can do that over there, or you can join my public Discord and say hi there. Love you guys. Until next time.